Hello, everybody. My name is Matt Scott, the co-host of the Wrestling Wrap-Up over on RHAP, and this is Silent Podcast, where we are anything but silent, talking about Act 2, that's episodes 3 to 5 of Black Widow Brigade, which is a really awesome show, and it is available on YouTube, just like this podcast. And so before you dive in deeper and get into listening to the audio, we encourage you to check this show out on the Silent Podcast YouTube. Just search for Silent Podcast, or if you're watching on YouTube and tired of our faces already, you could listen on the podcast apps like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of the things. But now I want to dive in and introduce our guest today. First and foremost, let me just introduce someone who has no other speed than going full tilt. LaTonya Starks, welcome to the podcast. Ow, I just hit my face on the mic because I'm a great podcaster, just
That's
like
what
you.
Get. Thank you.
Yeah,
I've been known to full tilt. Sometimes it is a quarter tilt. Sometimes maybe 3/4 of a tilt. It's really dependent on whether or not the other person's attractive. I'll let you figure that out.
I have so many. We'll keep going. So this other podcaster is here to avenge the island. Please welcome Grace Leeder.
That's what they call me. The other Grace, the other podcaster leader. I'm here.
Throw some respect on Grace's name.
No, it's okay. It's all good.
I shouldn't have even said your name. I should have just gone in full tilt. I'm always full tilt. LaTonya, so we'll find. What do you want to talk about going full tilt?
Sure. I learned about it first in watching the movie Rounders, which is an excellent film about gambling. Just way up there in the class of gambling films is a little film called Rounders, which stars Matt Damon, which, we have different feelings about Matt Damon nowadays.
Is Gene Hackman in it?
No.
But is Whoopi Goldberg in it?
No.
Well, you know what Whoopi Goldberg would say? Girl, you're in trouble. This is the podcast about Black Widow Brigade, so we will try to talk about that so that people don't turn off the show. But, first and foremost, how are you two doing since the last time that we recorded 2 weeks ago?
There's been 3 new episodes of Black Widow Brigade, so it's been very fun.
That's all. That's all we've been doing.
Yeah.
No, Survivor is back on TV. Big Brother is ramping up.
What?
There's so much reality TV. The Circle is on. There's more
like The Square.
Nice. It's a reality TV.
Good one.
Boom right now. A lot going on. So
boom, like the sound when I smash my face against my mic accidentally.
Right.
Wow. But this is we're here talking about episodes 5 to 7. Just any general thoughts, reactions, feelings, energy that you two, Grace, who I won't call the other podcaster, and LaTonya, the other podcaster. Any thoughts on
over?
Any thoughts on this all overall? The episodes that we just watched.
Oh, the Brigade are running away with it. Everybody else is done for. They have
This is what we call in show business a classic shit show.
Yeah.
You've got everyone's full true colors are starting to come out, with the exception of the fact that many people are lying, in which case probably not. Poor Shannon, who could not stress enough how she was dead. She died.
Yeah.
And came back to life like some beautiful raven-haired Jesus. And then, mourn the entire last couple episodes because her fellow brochacho was no longer there, which you could see that coming from a mile away. There was no way that she wasn't going to get to come back and that Josh wasn't going to immediately be sent away. I just think that we have to talk about something that's a moral issue at this point, and something that we don't talk about enough, especially in the podcasting community. And that is the use and proliferation of the word sus. Now, I get that some people play a game called what's it called?
Among Us.
Among them.
Thank
Among
you.
Us.
One of
Among
these things.
among something.
Uh-huh.
And everyone's always trying to suss out who's sus, but it's become like the word of the day. Like sus is the word of the day, and it's been said 8 million times to the point where it's starting to lose its meaning.
You have to remember that
LaTonya.
this was filmed like a year ago.
Mm.
So like even further, like in the, like I feel like really in the COVID times where people were just like playing Among Us all the time.
All the
like
time.
that's all they were doing with their life. So yeah, it doesn't
That's
surprise me that
fair.
like
No,
I feel like
this is
sus is a
sus.
word that like still people
No.
it is sus. It's sus that they're
No.
using sus this much.
Yeah, no, it's sus that LaTonya doesn't want to use the word sus. Like
It's not
what?
that I don't want to use the word sus.
I think you're
think that we
Brigade.
should give sus its due.
Your brigade.
Fine, I'm Brigade. Me and Mike Bloom hanging out in the brigade together, managing to
jealous.
avoid all. Like, first of all, Mike Bloom's face is hilarious because he's giving nothing. He's giving absolutely nothing to these people who are just like, we know it's you, Fredo. You broke our heart, right? And he's just like, like I have a 1-year-old child, you know.
I mean, what I'm finding really impressive actually about Mike's game is that like sometimes you get like when you're this obviously Brigade, you get so iced out, but Mike has managed to like, and like, you know, we can get into the votes and, you know, it surprises me that they're so surprised when it's like, turns out to be a 5-4 vote or a 5, you know, it's like, yeah, there's 5 of all 5 of the Brigade are left. Like, I think maybe they thought they might've got lucky. And so when there's 9, you're like, okay, we have a shot as long as we all, you know, whatever. But the thing that I think Mike is doing very interesting, like he, you know, I don't think he needed to pivot that vote onto Dan as much as he did, but he does, and he does it really well. And you know, and Amanda jumps on. Like I think there's 5 of them anyway, so it's good. Like that vote's going to go down that way. But like, yeah, sometimes these people get like totally iced out, right? In the sense of like, I'm not going to answer any of your questions because like you're a bad guy, you know. And he's still just like whether sometimes it's just like adding something into the conversation to like you know, change the course of the conversation or to like make people, you know, think about something. I think he's like, it's very interesting the way he's playing.
It's interesting because like I think there's also like it would be so easy, and we kind of saw in episode 7 like more people started to say, yeah, Mike's sus, and then obviously that flipped. But you know what? It would be so easy for them to say like ice Bloomy, get rid of him, you know, get him out of there, ice him out. But I think the beautiful thing about this is that it's very clear that we went way too far down the Brigade rabbit hole by the end. I guess it's not a spoiler if we kind of talk more about that. I would say, like, looking at episode 7, I was shocked at the conclusion. I was blindsided. I wasn't even sus.
Yeah. So like as like a JCR going out, right? Is that what you're?
No, all the way down
before.
episode 7. So like the Shannon getting voted out. In other words.
Oh yes.
I was caught off guard. Brigade. Wait, Brigade. I called her Brigade. Grace.
Brigade.
Grace.
Grace, aka Brigade.
Did you see that coming, Grace?
Shannon getting voted out?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like I mean, no, I guess like because like who's it going back and forth between, right? Like all the Brigaders there. I do. I don't know. Shannon was going to get voted out, right? Like they obviously, like it's all the Brigade who are left voting. Like they have the majority of the power. So yeah, they're going to pick off the people that they know are for sure good. It makes the most sense. Like Shannon, I think, is probably of the people who are left was the most confirmed good. I am surprised maybe that Shannon didn't play the variants, but.
Yeah, I think it was because she was still kind of reeling from the fact that she had lost her fellow brochacho, and in her in the like meeting beforehand, revealing that she was a brochacho, like kind of left her out there on her own once Josh was gone, and so she didn't have that protection. I think a variance would have been, I mean, if there's any time to like call a variance, then it's definitely then. But it's also possible that those votes could just happen more, you know, the next time.
They're just going to go to somebody else who's not brigade. So I guess it doesn't really matter. And then I guess the thing is, like, Shannon is very smart. Like, I have to imagine that Shannon consciously chose not to play the variants in the sense that she gets voted out. She's actually, if her goal is now, I'm just gonna get Josh back in the game, like no matter what, the best place to be able to do that is theoretically the Edge of Extinction, where you can be playing the puzzles and potentially being willed fire tokens from people who come to visit. Like maybe Shannon saw, like, if my whole thing is just to get Josh back in the game, which, like, to me it's try to get Josh back in the game with you. But if that's like the goal, then I could certainly see Shannon thinking, like, yeah, if it happens, it happens, and let me go to Edge of Extinction and I can earn Josh a bunch of fire tokens. I can do a bunch of puzzles, whatever. Because there's very little opportunity. The only opportunity when you're in the game to earn a fire token is to vote in the correct order, which is very much luck, I would say.
Yeah. I think that I was recently in a situation where I was voted most gullible, and I think that totally holds up because I was gullible. I thought that either Mike Bloom or Jordan was going to be voted out in that last vote. Shannon's name didn't come up, and I was bamboozled. I was in a kerfuffle.
You were led astray.
I mean, I knew Mike was not getting voted out. The Jordan thing is interesting because, again, I feel like there's some of this stuff that as you start to like pick up on what people are suspicious of you in a game of Mafia. There was this whole thing of like, maybe the Mike and Dan thing is like a ruse. Maybe they're like pretending to be fighting with each other. Oh. And then I'm like, I don't buy that for a second. I don't think there's any way that, like, how hard Mike came at Dan, I don't think is like, we're on the same team, but let's pretend. Like, Mike is like, you have been quiet for an hour and a half. Like, eat your dinner another time. Like, whoa, Mike, whoa, coming out hard.
Oh my God, I love it.
So I don't buy that. Dan, like, I think Dan is exactly who he says he is, which is Natalie, and Jason is Russell. But then you start to wonder, like, Jordan. There is this thing of like Jordan starts to look suspicious, and there's this thing of Mafia that you keep in the people who are the most suspicious, because when there's a vote, you're hoping that the votes end up there, even though they have this majority. They can just whoever they want. It does still continue to put just a little bit of doubt into whoever is left in the game who's not Brigade, who is then trying to figure out where to put their vote, right? It's like, just like as soon as you like create these like this divide of like, okay, we know we're bad and we know we're good, the game's going to kind of grind to a halt. So it's in the Brigade's best interest to still keep some mystery out there. And if Jordan seems suspicious and he's not in the Brigade, keep him in the game, because people are going to vote for him. People are going to, it's more beneficial to have him this big juicy target, right? It's why you see in Mafia games a lot of like the quieter players go first, which is like, I don't think would happen in this game. There's not really anybody who's quiet in this cast. So yeah, anyway.
Yeah, it's really interesting though, because like this, even if, I mean, no, we were definitely very firm that Mike Bloom is Brigade even last episode, but even if he is Brigade, I mean, I guess they don't have a reason to take out someone who's Brigade just for the looks of it. Like, what's the point of that? And Shannon was a very dangerous player. It's so heartbreaking to see her get voted out or taken out again. I didn't need that.
Yeah, she was lonely without you. It's gonna be so fun. The next episode, we're gonna get a Bro Chacha's reunion. It's gonna be great. It will fill our heart.
Yeah. I guess that's what we all want.
They're immediately coming back, right?
Yeah.
So maybe not.
That's what made the whole Grace thing, like the whole arc of the character, so heartbreaking, is because for a very long time, Grace was just sitting there being like,
not me, Shannon.
All right.
Shannon.
Sorry, Shannon.
I'll happily.
I was like, Grace, what were you saying?
Grace is just.
I was sitting there heartbroken.
I thought Shannon doing well was the Grace thing, like the thing that Grace is playing. Grace, is that your Twitter bio?
Shannon plays this game with a lot of grace, I have to say. So it's fine. Yeah.
But watching Shannon like kind of almost on the verge of tears talking about how lonely she was, and then all of a sudden she's like, and I'm dead again. Great.
Yeah. You know what? I'll say, like, the thing I appreciated about that, Shannon has so many great moments in this game. Really, I mean, there was a moment just to mention this as a side note, where Krishma was with Shannon in one of the, I think it was on, now I'm blanking if it was the heroes or the villain tribe, but it was the heroes tribe. And like, Shannon,
Yes.
so great to talk with you. You're so kind to me. Thank you so much for being so thoughtful and kind, defending me on my season. So that was like a great moment with Shannon, but also
I did love that.
I loved that. And I also loved that, like, Shannon, this is like a Shannon Stan podcast, but like Shannon clearly like was invested in the game, which, you know, don't you hate when like people are not really into the game and like, oh, okay, this is silly, blah blah blah. Like, no, it's great when people are there to play the game. And that's the fun thing, I think, not only with Shannon here, but just in general in some of these different games.
I feel like, wow, let Shannon play this game when she's played it once, and like you'll watch someone take control of that game. I think like I want to watch season 2 with Shannon in there, you know, like I almost feel like, I think this is a thing we talk about with Survivor a lot of, like, I think like twists, you know, they get hated on a lot, but the thing we often want is like, what I want is I want people to know how to use the like stuff that's happening in the game. And so I feel there's a little bit of like, and you know, part of that is just the way that this game, it's supposed to be a mystery, right? You're not supposed to have all the information. It would be incredibly easy if you had all the information. But I think even just like now, like if Shannon had the information she had going into another game of this, of like what she knows about, you know, how roles and what optimal play of like, you know, every role in the game, and the Brigade, I think that, you know, it'd be super fascinating to watch Shannon play the game. I think she was put in a pretty tough spot in here. Like Shannon is somebody who I was like wondering whether, you know, I think if we look at who was eligible to be voted out here, I think you probably have Jess, Shannon. That's it, right? Because I think that's it. I think everybody else is Brigade.
I think that's, so one thing I'll do as we have that question out there is go back to our wonderful, we need a fancy name other than just a Google slide, but go back to our wonderful graphic visualization of the status of the Brigade and stuff. So this is kind of where maybe where we are in terms of getting, again, check us out on YouTube to see where things are.
I'd like to make a public apology to Karen from Canada, that I was so convinced that Karen was on the Brigade last time, and I don't think there's any way Karen is in the Brigade anymore. The only, you know, there's one fleeting theory I had. I was talking with a friend Austin, who gave me a nice graph. Actually, I'll share it with you. It's like amazing. Austin is a big Survivor fan. Is from Australia. A lot of Survivor Australia. It's just some Australia Survivor coverage. He's great. He's very smart. And we were talking about it, and I was like, yeah, I don't think there's any way. And then I was like, also, but maybe what if she let the Brigade voter out to like then bring her back in the next episode? So if Karen comes back in the next episode, I'm like, okay, now all my Karen suspicions are off again. But I think for now I have to say apologies to Karen. I don't think you're in the Brigade, and I very much thought you were the last podcast.
Yeah, leave Karen alone.
Yeah,
Karen's got enough issues.
Leave Karen alone.
Seriously.
Karen's from Canada.
Yeah, Karen's from Canada and is gonna be nice and forgive you because Canada. But like
earlier I was like, get her, Leersa. Now I'm like, whoa, Leersa, too much.
Now, I mean,
we have a Canada feud going on here.
Seriously. Also, just like having the name Karen, I think in the year 2021 is enough. So everyone just lay off Karen.
No, Karen from Canada redeems the name for me. That's very powerful. And so shout out to Karen for that one. I think like thinking about just like where we are with these different roles, what we've kind of been told, which is what we're looking at on the YouTubes, is that we kind of we obviously know that Shannon is Christian Hubicki, one of the Brochachos with Josh. We have been told multiple times, and I believe that Jason Kurtzavera is Russell Hantz. I also believe that Dan Sinensky is Natalie White. Lexi, Boston Rob, we've talked about that before. In line with that, Leersa is Amber. And then DJ LaBelle Klein says that he is Detective Dean, which, like, I guess it's funny because that's not really a factor because he was voted out so early, but
which is wild, right? To have a detective not even get to play an active role in the game at all.
And it is funny because I mean he's consequential in this game.
Oh
his
no,
voice
that's
is
not
being heard.
that's not what I meant.
Okay.
I'm not we're not back to last week. I'm not saying that DJ LaBelle Klein is insignificant. or
I will say
insufficient.
I am feeling so bad for Troy. I love Troy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was chatting with him before I came on tonight. He's a good friend of
Mhm.
mine. We hang out in the post show recaps Discord. Come hang out with us. It's very fun. But Troy's read is so wrong, and I see how he got there. I like see it. He's like, yeah, Josh
Yeah.
came to the edge. I gave him a token. He didn't give me a token back. He's like being pretty shifty. Like I
Yeah.
investigate, whatever. And it's like he just is not seeing that like he's in a really powerful pair with like Shannon. And so it's like
Yeah.
I'm
But-
like, oh
yeah.
Troy, like please.
Yeah.
It's like you gotta
I
believe
know.
Josh.
And
Yeah.
he's like,
Yeah.
Josh, I gave you my token. Does it mean nothing? And Josh is like, well,
Kind
basically.
of, it doesn't mean it.
Basically
I mean,
means nothing.
I have more info that like
But
makes that make sense,
Yeah.
But Troy doesn't. That's the thing about this game is that
Troy.
like I have many more of the puzzle pieces than Troy does, especially being
You
the first
do.
person voted out. So like, gosh, I feel
Yeah.
bad. Troy's not getting a great edit.
No, well, I mean,
No.
I would say this at the end of the day too. Like, I could relate. I would probably play this game like DJ LaBelle Klein, being voted out first, or really early, and then just really kind of having a feeling, and then putting the pieces together. Like everything he's saying logically does make sense, if not for the brochacho twist, that role and that factor. Like, because I see the logic. It's just yeah, like sometimes
in a game where there
game doesn't
isn't
have logic.
If there's not brochachos, right? And this is like
Totally.
it's a pretty like super powered like partner role in a game. The detective is like, and Jordan says this, like the detective is like basically one of the most important games and often very key to be there at the end to be sent. Because in a typical game, as long as you just get out the Mafia, it's fine, so you can win. And so it's great to have the detective there being like, okay, that person's bad and you're good, so like we need to vote together, But in this game, for him to be voted out first, he's out of the game, but he's a super powerful role. And in a normal game of Mafia, he probably is able to sort of wield the like, hey, I'm the investigator, you got to come with me, like to Josh. And if Josh is just like a regular town role, then certainly Josh is giving his token to Troy.
Yeah.
He's voting for Troy to come back in. But this game is
Yeah.
much more, there's a complexity to it that how would Troy know in that moment? And how does Josh, Josh has, I think, made every move he should have, so
Yeah.
correctly. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so sad.
And
But he's
would've
also a
still-
leprechaun. He's
Josh?
Oh, yeah.
This is a fact.
Do we
That
have any
is-
updates on that?
Well, there was I can't remember who it was. It might have been Bryce Isaiah posted a picture of a rainbow. And I'm almost positive that I saw Josh at the end of it.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So
Did this happen? Well, I know Josh wasn't at the end.
how do
Or
you
was
know?
he? I mean, he usually like he wouldn't show up in a picture. Like when you take a picture of a leprechaun, it doesn't materialize in the picture. It just
Yes,
kind
it
of
does.
like
I
it's
have special film.
really.
Yeah.
I don't.
You don't have Leprechaun.
Which iPhone is
pushing
that? Do you have the new iPhone?
30.
Wow. Oh, okay. Good
Yeah.
for you.
Thanks.
That's really impressive.
Yeah. Tim Cook and I are tight.
Tim Cook. Yeah. Shout out to him. I know he listens to this podcast. Thanks, Tim, for listening and for all the things.
Thanks, Tim Cook, for Ted Lasso and everything else.
Yeah.
This has gone too far.
As it okay.
No.
So we can
I
talk
don't-
about the game.
Yeah, you've crossed the line, LaTonya.
What line?
If I only knew.
Exactly. Okay. So
Speaking of lines
Yeah.
crossing, what were you just about to say?
I was gonna say that we have to talk about Allie in this game.
Thank you. I want to talk about Allie.
I think it's for like our own mental health, it's important that we talk about Allie. At
Yeah.
first, I thought Allie had cheesy poofs, but then I realized they weren't cheesy poofs. They were jalapeno puffs. That made me love her even more. Just snacking away, taking notes like a true attorney, just sitting there doing the line by line, taking notes, and saying some pretty hilarious things along the way too. Like
the thing?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
the midnight ride was quite a feast for the ears.
I have heard that Allie didn't think this was being recorded as a
No.
TV show. It's just my
No.
favorite way to interpret everything that Allie
Yes.
does in this episode. It's just
Yes.
her hang. This is Allie.
This is
Doesn't know
Allie.
she's being recorded. That's just
Yeah.
Allie Lasher
This is
living
the
her
best-
life.
This is
She
the
just kinda
best
shows
glimpse
up.
of Allie Lasher that really anyone could ever get, and
We love it.
totally dateable to answer
Totally.
to answer
Yeah.
the question that she asks every episode.
Can I say I think there's a moment where somebody asked Jordan, I think he's on his midnight ride, and asks about Allie, like, what is Allie like? And Jordan's like, well, she takes notes and then she uses them to help the town. I was like, those two are totally brigade together. Like, it's like
Yeah.
oh, those notes she's taking, they will be very useful as a town.
Yeah,
Like,
for
it's
the,
like, no
for the
way.
town.
No way.
Yeah.
I think 100% Allie is. I mean, I was at the end of the last episode. I feel like heading into the last episode, a part of this, I was like, okay, Allie, I think is probably in the Mafia. And then slowly, I was like, maybe Allie isn't in the Mafia. Like, maybe Allie's just playing a really good, an interesting. And now I'm like, no, Allie's definitely in the Mafia.
Well,
Sorry, Allie. The brigade.
To go back to like the last podcast episode of
Mhm.
things, kind of where things sat before. I don't think we really knew what was going on. Like, we knew a lot, but we were just so naive. I think that like
it's not that wrong. I mean, it's like
not that
wrong.
wrong.
It's definitely wrong. It's not that
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah. And I think just to kind of go through like who we thought was in the brigade, we could kind of check in on it again, because I think it's kind of the same pretty much. But Dr.
Who's
Amanda,
the really gorgeous woman at the end? The person who was the
Mafia.
survivor, the redhead
Natalie
below
Bolton.
Jordan.
Natalie Bolton.
I want to be her. She's beautiful.
You could be her if you
Okay.
play Black Widow Brigade. It could be
Great.
a thing.
Done.
But
Too bad Jordan is her. So
Jordan has I don't know how we sorted
bad
it.
Jordan
Yeah,
is
Jordan
her.
gives me Natalie Bolton.
there was
vibe.
some logic here about who was being vocal and who's being less vocal, but
Mhm.
I don't really have strong suspicions of who is who in the brigades. Certainly,
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the places where we probably were, I mean, really the one person. So to go back to that for the audio people, Amanda, Karishma, Mike Bloom, and Karen from Canada, and Jordan were the five that we thought were brigade. And I guess the only one who we don't really have in that is Karen at this point, but a lot has sort of evolved. And so are we thinking like Mike, Amanda, Jordan, Karishma, Allie? Seems like that has to be it at this point. And I guess it's not much of a guessing game at this point.
Yeah.
who do you like? My instinct is that Mike is Amanda because he played an idol, but I don't know whether that's he also could have been like given tokens from we know. I mean,
Maybe.
the narrator does say that like there's more happening behind the scenes than like in terms of bequeathals, right? I think that happens in the first arc. So
Ooh,
certainly they could have
bequeathals.
been giving each other tokens and buying idols. The thing that I think is interesting about this game, though, is that like obviously you want to get the majority. You want to get to this point where they are like 5 of 9, and then they're that's I think as soon as the final 9 hit and all 5 of them, I have to assume are all left in the game.
Yeah,
it's gonna be really hard for the town to like be able to break through, or the non-brigaders. But at the same time, like, is it the end of the world that like Mike goes out? Like some of them might have to beat him unless he's like the lowest on the brigade.
well, no, it is the end of the world if Mike
Yeah.
Bloom goes out, because Dad is someone who I love to watch on
I
the
forgot about
podcasts,
Dad.
on the live reality games that are on Zoom, all of that stuff. So yeah, it is the end of the world if he's out.
It really
ratings,
is.
the ratings, maybe nothing will change.
I'm
with
not
ratings,
watching the
but
rest of this show if they vote out Mike Bloom. That's it. I've said it here.
I
But
think
Josh Wiggler would still be in the game. if
Who's
Mike
Josh
Bloom-
Wiggler?
No, he's out of the game. So but actually,
Running away.
the thing that's fun about this, but there are lots of things that are fun about this, but like one thing that I think is really fun is that like everyone's still able to play the game the entire time, even if there's a chance that you probably won't be voted back in. I mean, you could convince people to vote you back in. Like, that's the thing that's cool, that everyone has a role. There's always constant motion. And just like we probably would say, like, there are a lot of roles and rules, I think that makes it fun for people. So it's not like, oh, I got voted out and now I can't do anything, or now I got voted out and I can't get voted back in. Like, things could change. And I'm curious to see how things change when someone is voted back in.
I've definitely played in some of these games before where like it's a one night RPG and you play and you're the first person voted out, but you like have to be on the jury and all you do is just sit with your camera off for like 3 hours. It really sucks. So I do commend this game to like, as much as, we can joke that like Edge of Extinction is not my favorite Survivor twist of all time. In this format, it is fun to see them all hanging out on the edge of extinction, still getting like having influence over what's happening in the game, and one of them is still going to come back. So I think the format for this type of thing is really good. It's really fun.
Yeah, totally. And there's the other thing I was thinking about when we got to the end of this act of episodes, Act 2, is just that like the brigade really, I guess anyone who's not in the brigade has an uphill battle. Like there are all sorts of advantages that they could use, but the fact that the brigade's able to come together and 5 players are able to talk through what they should be doing in the game is a huge advantage. I'm not sure how much of an advantage it is because I only thought of this 20 minutes before we started recording, but it seems like a massive advantage. What do you think, Grace?
I think it's a huge advantage, and I was actually talking like the thing I think about this game, I think it's really fun. I think it's great. I think the idea of that it's an individual game is really, really interesting. And I wonder if we could I don't know, maybe I'll try to read through the rules. I do remember at some point there was this question of like, can the brigade vote for each other? And the answer was kind of like, no, unless they all agree to. So like with my like Karen vote thing, was that the thing of like, they're all like, hey, what if we all vote for Karen? And Karen has to say like, yes, you can all vote for me. And now she can be voted for. Because I feel like, again, this is the first time we're seeing it played. I know that they test played it. So I don't think it's the case that probably the brigade dominated every time. I would be interested to see how many times like a non-brigader can like sneak their way in, because I think that's where the intrigue comes in of the brigade they're going to crack. And they have this like hierarchy, or they have these win conditions, right? But then, there's really no reason to let a non-brigader in at any point. And they actually like can't really, if they're just constantly just like have to vote for somebody not in their team. And then they can only sort of like infight once they're the only ones left. I would be interested to know either whether like I'm just misunderstanding that from the rules, because I think the person who clarifies is Dr. Amanda, who says like they can't vote for each other. And so I think Dr. Amanda's in the brigade. So I don't actually know whether that information is true, but I also don't know if it like makes it into the game. Like I feel like, it's like interesting person for that information to come from. And I think Jason corroborates it. Like I didn't go back and rewatch those first 4 episodes again. Yeah. So I don't know, but it just feels like the brigade are so powerful in this game. Yeah. And I don't know what they can like do about that other than like getting lucky very early on, right?
Well, I think that's the other interesting thing. And you mentioned the point about all of the different test games that they played to just to get ready for all of this. And I think that's all like notable because like at the end of the day, I have a strong feeling that there was a way that, it wasn't always brigade. Like that's why you play test games, to kind of figure out what the flow of the game could look like. But man, the brigade, this is so much fun, but also I think like just the brigade dominating seems like this indomitable force. And I do wonder if they'll be able to just run the table to the end, or if things will, turn in the favor of the townies. And then, but even then, if it doesn't, I'm excited to see when the Black Widow Brigade actually turns on each other and when they start deciding to pick people off. To your point, Grace, about the rules, I really wonder how that's going to go once they voted out all of the normies.
Who's then the best case at like not thinking about like who is going to get back in, like who is going to get the votes or has the most fire tokens, like who is the person who can come back in and has the most like power to be able to like crack through that. Like, it's kind of probably Josh. No, I think the thing with Troy being Detective Dean, if they have to vote out non-brigaders, then it doesn't. Troy coming in, he'll just say, "Yep, these are all the," and then he's okay. We're gonna vote you out, right? Like he'll have maybe one round to get information, and it's probably the round he gets voted out, so he's out of the game anyway. So it has to be somebody who can use an idol, who can, the thing that's interesting is they're gonna have to like spend tokens that they earn, but they actually like it'd be great to come back with some tokens to buy some safety, but like I don't know.
Well, one person who comes to mind is Jason Curtis Rivera, because he, as Russell Hantz, and allegedly had an idol from the very beginning of the game. So he probably has an idol.
Yes, he probably does. I don't know if he keeps it if he got voted out.
If I know one thing about Jason Curtis Rivera, it's that he plays full tilt. There's no other speed for him. And you know what? I could see him coming back into this game, playing that idol when he needs to, making the way to the end, winning the game, making a musical about it. It'll be beautiful. That's what I want to happen. I don't know how they're going to get to the point where they have this conversation of like, who's the most capable here on the edge to go back in. But I do
I'd love
like
for them all
thinking.
to be like, hey, let's don't spend your tokens, like will them to Jason when he's back in the game, like that would to me would be fascinating. But even then, your idol only works until I imagine you only get an idol in the final 5, right? Like you can't be using your. I mean, that's like Survivor rules, so I have to assume. Yeah. And so then that he can't like win himself to the end with idols. So I don't know. They're in a tough spot. I think this is a Brigade's game to win, and so I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how that works out.
That's what it was though in real Survivor life, like that's what happened. So it makes sense that could happen. It is interesting to see like the uphill battle, the underdog story of everyone who's not evil in the game.
It also comes down to like the age-old scourge of the Mafia. I mean, they're far-reaching.
LaTonya Starks word.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I invented that word myself about this game. They're far-reaching. They're very interconnected. We have no idea what types of plans they're working with. I think the Mafia could run the whole table here. And I'm not going to lie. I kind of love it when a bad guy wins. So I wouldn't be too upset about it.
If we think that this is Mike, Amanda, Allie, Jordan, Karishma, who do you think has the best shot of like what's the power structure there? I mean, they all have these roles. I have no idea who. Again, like my one thought is like, actually, I thought Mike was Suri last time because Mike sort of said, "Oh, I have this power. I don't know when to use it." Yeah. So I wondered if Mike had the steal of vote that he has to play successfully to win. Suri has to play that successfully to unlock her win condition. Mike had an idol, but that could have been that could have been Brigade tokens.
And can we talk about that idol for just a second? Because it produced one of the most iconic lines of this entire show, which as the votes were cast and it was time for someone to put up an idol to save themselves, Mike Bloom goes, DJ LaBelle Klein, I love you, but you can kiss my ass. I'm playing a token. I mean, come on now. You put that on a poster.
A t-shirt.
You put it on a shirt for sure.
A hat.
I have one on a shirt. I just think that it's kind of from the heat standpoint, Mike is going to end up getting the most heat. I feel like he could go out the soonest. Yeah. I really don't feel like anyone's paying attention to Allie though, because she's been so good at being like junior investigator and trying to be forthright with the information that she is gleaning from all of these conversations that she's having, so much to the point that she's become kind of an authority that people look to during those conversations they have with one another before they decide how they're going to vote. Yet none of the suspicion is coming back on her at all.
It'll also be interesting to see if we get any sort of like, if we get any flashbacks to their conversations, because if like it'd be interesting to see the dynamics between what's happening when they decide who to medevac, right? Because that will tell us a lot more than what's happening in the room with everybody else, right?
It'd be epic.
I know Mike is a big target, but Mike. I'm assuming the jury is everybody, is what I'm assuming. Man, Mike, telling DJ LaBelle Klein to kiss my ass, to tell Dan that he's been quiet for an hour and a half. Like, I would want to take Mike to the end.
It's bold.
I'll sit next to Mike Bloom at the end. I think that like he's certainly the most vocal, and he has an argument to say, look, you knew I was the brigade. Nobody you didn't take me out. You know, you tried. I played an idol. He has a good resume, but I also wonder whether these are some people who love reality TV. These are some gamers. I wonder if people, you know, if Allie can make an argument that like, hey, I was the one telling us who, you know, I'm the one who was saying this is who we should get rid of. We got to get rid of DJ LaBelle Klein. DJ with LaBelle Klein was the, you know, we got to get rid of Shannon, you know. So I would be interested to see what's happening in those medevac conversations, and whether we would get to see any of them would be something I would really like to see in the last act if it's the brigade left. If we don't see them, you know, not the end of the world, but I think it'll be a little bit harder to know who maybe, like, I don't even know who they're suspicious of, right? Like who they think they are.
It's
right?
pretty much sus.
So it's it's called sus. Get used to it. That should have been the tagline of the show.
Gross.
Right, but I don't know who, like, I don't know who Allie is, and I don't know who Allie thinks, you know, Mike is, or who Amanda is, you know. So I don't know. It's interesting.
So many people having identity crises. Like, this honestly feels like the type of game that I would need therapy after, because I'd have to like try to decouple myself from my identity.
I mean, honestly, like any of the social strategy games could get like really intense, like just with the lying, the lying alone, but then you throw in the twist, then you throw in the roles. I would be like full on embodying who would I be? Maybe I'd get my Russell Hantz hat on, or my little I don't know what I need, but I just feel
don't know anything about
this would be me.
I don't know anything about Survivor. I almost just called it Titanic. That's how little I know. I told you my brain isn't working today, so
you are a gamer. I told you only know how to play full tilt, LaTonya. You're gaming us. You've been a huge Survivor fan your whole
life.
Can I say I very much love Dan Sineski. He's not exactly the most like vocal person I've ever met in my life. So the fact that Amanda's being like, Dan Sineski only like, Dan is a gamer. Dan is certainly a gamer. He invented a game. Like he invented a board game for Run App. Like he likes like games. He has a very
Dunshire.
I don't want to say his game is like the Cones of Dunshire. That's because I actually know Dan is listening. So it's not. It's much better than the Cones of Dunshire. Hi, Dan. Dan's smart. Like he's a gamer, and he'll like, you know, he'll play. But he's not exactly like, I don't know that I would say like he's like full tilt all the time. He's like on edge, you know, like it's not exactly. Dan's much more like, to me, methodical, you know. But I think that's just Amanda being like, I got to get Dan out. I'm gonna throw sus on Dan.
That was a very like Dr. Amanda, like, let's pivot over to this way.
I love when they were like, we should all tell each other our roles, and Amanda goes, I don't think it makes sense at this moment.
It doesn't make sense.
And it's like everyone's like,
what are you talking about? No,
it's fine.
We're actually gonna skip that agenda item. That's like, we cancel it. We can't do that one today.
If I ever played this game, I don't think I'd ever reveal my role, even at the end.
I think you wouldn't even like say it. Like, no, you could to anyone, anywhere, no confessionals. No. Like, wow, I like that.
My role is what?
Yeah, we should all play this. We should all be in this game. Because honestly, I wouldn't mind being the mayor of Slamtown, because I would do push-ups between all of the rounds just to like fully bulk up.
I don't know what that means, but Slamtown seems aggressive. So,
one time I was on a show with Dan, and the thing was do the most impressive thing, and he did a bunch of push-ups. So that's right.
Dan?
The mayor's Slamtown.
Oh wait, was it,
this is on Patreon? This is on Patreon Taskmaster. Beyond Robin's podcast.
Look at that.
Anyway.
Wow, what a moment! What a moment!
So I mean, I don't know who gets back here. I think that it's probably a bit of a revolving door. Like, hello, goodbye, unless they have, you know, it could be Josh, and I think he has a save left. Maybe, I think only one. I think he used one on himself, and he's used one on Shannon. So I think he only has one left. So he, you know, buys him a vote, and if they vote for him, then that's great, because it keeps the two of them back in. But I don't see where any of them left. So I think then we're just going to end up with this 5-person group, and they're going to battle it out.
I want to see the Wonder Twin powers activate. Like, I need Josh and Shannon back together in the game,
Yes.
joining hands. The sparks explode out from them as they combine their powers and like take out Mike Bloom and get their vengeance. But I feel like Josh is the other person who could make sense to come back in, because I could see him explaining himself on the edge enough for people to vote for him. And then also the Slamtown save is the other power. I'm not sure if there's anyone else though who like has the same power to change the game without it being that revolving door. And so I guess we'll just see. We'll have to see.
What is the deal again? The brigade, they all just get to vote as well, right? They all get to vote. So and then the people on the edge can't vote for each other. So who do people then? I think that's what's going to come down to, right? Who do the edgers vote for that's not themselves to come back? Josh has the most tokens right now. I think he has 3. Ooh. Jason has does Jason have 2? I don't think that's correct.
Mr. Moneybanks.
No,
Josh
I think he does, and then Aaron has 1.
Shannon was like, we're poor now.
We're poor.
It's like, welcome to the game, Shannon.
So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I think that probably amongst themselves, like, I think Josh gets a lot of help me, I'm poor. I think Josh gets a ton of votes. I think Troy could get some votes, but he doesn't have tokens. So I don't know.
No.
I don't know who's coming back in.
Rough life on the edge.
Draw a name out of a hat. So you have like an equal opportunity of getting it correct.
It's not about who wins. It's about who has fun, right? Let's just have rock, paper, scissors for it.
I think they're all having fun.
Yeah, they seem to be having fun. I love the little inserts of the people watching who are on the edge of extinction, watching people getting voted out.
Oh, that was one of my favorite things. That was their reaction.
I know. And JCR just has no look on his face. He's just like, yeah.
Grace, what's your shocked edge reaction? Great for a podcast.
No, it's not good actually. Has anybody seen the tweet that's floating around of Dr. Amanda's not so great shocked face? Yeah, that's going around. Yeah, of Dr. Amanda is. I don't know if this is convincing enough, and it's just Dr.
It's I'm trying to audio wise get this face across.
It's hand over the hand over the face a bit.
It'll be on YouTube. It's okay.
Video wise, it's but audio wise, it's that's what her face.
Wow, that was a big difference that everybody could totally tell.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, but anyway, it'll be interesting to see kind of how the things unfold. I guess at some point, just the secret's out, and now we're gonna watch everyone just be cut through and open about their roles. I want people to get to the point where they could reveal who they are, just so we could stop being lied to, because my feelings have been hurt many times watching this show and not knowing what to think.
That's part of the fun of life, is getting lied to and
heartbroken.
It's great. Have you ever seen the movie Closer?
See, I haven't.
No.
Don't.
It has a great line called, and it goes, "Lying is the most fun a girl can have without taking her clothes off, but it's better if you do."
I've heard that line.
Yeah.
Maybe I have to check the movie out.
You should watch the movie.
Wow. Where is it? On what streaming platform?
I'm not the internet.
Okay. Anyway, other thoughts on this episode of the Black Widow Brigade?
I have so many thoughts that I can't even put them. I should have written notes.
Just go down the list.
Yeah. Well, I am really excited about how under the radar Karishma is, even though I think that she's clearly part of the brigade. I think it's the high pony that's doing it. So Karishma, anytime you want to hide and lie, high pony it up. You're doing great.
Hold on. What? Okay. That's, you know what? Maybe it is the high pony. You could, I've never really thought about that, but you know what? I have respect for that. I'm just hold on. I'm zoomed in on the high pony for Karishma, but
yeah.
Is that the secret to life? Just have your hair in a high ponytail?
It's also just slowly drinking wine.
Oh, yes.
It's also
that was a great moment. That was a very Dynasty, I'm going to sip on this while I ruin your life.
Yeah,
This
is great.
I've
been really
love it.
enjoying Karishma. I mean, everybody has been really fun to watch. Like everybody is like, there's a reason that like they picked this cast, this crew. Everybody is entertaining. Even watching, people like I've been there when you get called out and that you are in the mafia, and it's like, yeah, but like I kind of got to keep pretending I'm not in the mafia, it's really fun, I think, to watch Dr. Amanda. I love at the end when the very last like thing in the episode is like, there must be at least 3 brigaders left.
What?
Get out of here. Stop
I was
lying.
like, wait, am I losing it?
Yeah, they were like, we think they're all gone at this point, right? It's like
There must at least 3. Or no, Karishma said there must be 3.
There must be at least 3. Yeah. There's also the fun thing. I also think Karishma's in the brigade, but there's a scene where like she's kind of being asked to like name names, and it really doesn't matter at this point. Like I do think the brigade could just be like, hey, like we're good, right? We're just gonna vote him out, like it's fine. Like I guess like they're a little bit worried about like you have to keep a little bit suspicion, so maybe somebody accidentally plays an idol wrong or whatever. But I do like when Karishma is like, I'm Mike, I'm definitely sus of Mike, and also Dan and Jordan and I think Jason.
Jason, Dan, and
name
Mike.
all the men.
And
it's
then
like,
Jordan later.
Normally it's name a woman, but like right now it's name all the men. They're all sus to me.
I think it's fun when like they like, well, okay, everybody's good with me saying Mike. Okay, Mike is suspicious, like because he's obviously been in the brigade, and it's like
Mike?
Okay, but then Mike Bloom.
Mike.
Wow.
But then also Dan, maybe Dan. Like this is like you're going back and forth between. Should I just keep naming brigade and like non-brigade to like how do I look the least suspicious?
I felt bad for Dan because he was like, I'm not in the brigade. Y'all.
He's like, I'm Natalie, and they're like,
Natalie.
Okay, we're gonna put you out.
I feel like Karishma, like if I mean, I don't. No one asked, but if I was going to play this game, it would probably be most like Karishma, like the.
Wait a minute, Matt. If you were going to play this game, who would it most be like, and why?
Karishma.
Great question.
Okay, thanks.
Karishma.
You're all doing a really good job.
Thank you. What a podcast. Let's just pretend. Like go back now to the part where I started to answer, and then it's like out of order, and it seems like I was asked the question, which I wasn't. But anyway, like I would play the Karishma because Karishma does this thing that I don't know how I don't know how anyone gets away with it, and I love to do it, which is just like I don't know what's going on. I'm clueless, whatever. And it's a good, most gullible, that type of thing. Like when you play that game, people are just kind of like dismissive of it, when I would be really concerned about someone who's like joking around and not, kind of like, it seems like lowering their threat level on purpose. That's what I would see in someone like that. But maybe that's because I would like call that out because I would do the same thing. So I don't know.
I think I'd probably play, like, if there's anybody here, I think I would play the most like Troy. I think because I overthink things, and so I would immediately like be like, that is the only logical thing that makes sense for this, like all of these things would have happened, and I would just have missed something. So I think I would play the most like Troy in this game. I don't see anybody else who I think totally matches my style of play. I think I would be a really obvious brigader, so I'm either Mike or Amanda. I get really defensive.
Yeah.
Like that's my go-to for like if you call me out and I know that I don't know how to react to, like, you're right, but I have to defend myself. So I get really defensive. Yeah. Yeah.
Who would you play?
I'll remember
like,
that.
LaTonya?
I'll remember that, Grace.
Yeah.
That she was getting really defensive.
Purposes.
Why would you remember that?
Just for antisocial behavior.
Why would you remember that?
That's sus.
You don't need to remember that.
Sus, LaTonya.
It's pretty sus. My memory is like a trap, so pretty sus.
What does that
memory.
even mean? I don't know.
A memory like a trap, you can keep everything.
Well, I thought that you. Look, I thought that you meant that like people get trapped in your memories.
What?
I mean, I don't want to be trapped in your memory, LaTonya. And speaking of which, speaking of your memory, LaTonya, of your memories of this game, who would you play most like and why?
I would play. Let's see. I don't really know a lot about Survivor or Mafia, so I would probably play like a loser. I don't want to name any names.
Oh my god! Yeah,
like clear people who have lost already.
No.
I'm just
nobody's
saying,
lost yet.
I'm not don't know what's happening. I'm not very good at games.
That's sad.
More people should invite me to play games, and then I'll be better.
Oh, so you're doing that. Okay, I see your 3-dimensional chess right now.
It's 4-dimensional chess.
It's
I don't know why
it's
people
3.
keep saying 3.
It's only 3.
3-dimensional is the world that we live in.
That's what I'm saying.
And
chess is not.
And 3-dimensional chess is just a normal chessboard. It's 4.
Exactly.
I can't do this. Like, this is one of the things that was driving me insane during the show.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense that it would make me upset. Like with Shannon's headphones. It's just like the way that my brain works. And Allie kept, like, God bless her, kept saying 3D chess, and I was like, that's just chess. It's just chess.
I don't know what 4D chess looks like.
It's a 4D board. You can Google it. Again, not the internet.
You play like up and down, like, you know.
Yeah, it's like up, down, over.
Yeah, I hate as soon as you pointed out Shannon's headphones. Now I can't. And Shannon even said on Twitter, "It's like, I know, I want to fix them too."
I know, I feel bad. I've like ruined everything. This is the way my brain works, though. Maybe I would play more like Shannon, because I would come on like in a strong duo and be super excited about it, and then immediately die, and then need that person to save me like twice over, and then I would come back because I knew Shannon was coming back. Like, it wasn't even an issue. I knew it was happening. I do understand DJ LeBeau-Klein's Troy, if that is your real name. I do understand your frustration about having all of those tokens and like still and getting the puzzles right and still not getting to come back. But you know, Shannon had someone who had her back, and in this life, isn't that what we all want and desire? Just someone who's on our 6. So, you know, probably Shannon. If not Shannon, probably Josh, just because he and I are basically the same person in like real life, which is weird.
Wow. We have new developments.
Yeah.
You are Josh Wiggler, and Josh Wiggler is you.
We do have
You're
a ridiculous amount of them.
I knew it.
A leprechaun.
Wow, that's why you have the cameras that can take pictures of leprechaun. What's the plural of leprechaun? Leprechaun. Yes, you love to take the leprechaun pictures because those are your family photos. We get it.
Yeah, leprechaunian. That's me.
Nice.
Matt, do you have a winner pick?
Yeah, who's gonna win?
Oh my gosh, a winner pick. I'm gonna go with Allie Lasher.
Kind of cheating to be like at the final 6, a winner pick.
Yeah.
Honestly, for Survivor, I'm just waiting for the final 6.
Well, now I'm like going through my head of like, okay, wait, what are these winning? You know what? Let me just go with Allie Lasher. She is a winner in my book. You're a winner, baby. I just wanted to say that. I never have said that on a podcast. I'm not a winner.
If it's not Allie, it would probably be the good doctor. Amanda.
The doctor.
Because Amanda has like flown under the radar, just sitting there like sipping beers that are coming to her from off camera, which again, I mentioned someone to like, you know, be with, you know, when you need a brochacho in life. That's what I'm trying to say. Someone who can hand you beers off camera.
I think that's a good call. I do think that I think Allie might be the most vocal and like driving it like in front of everybody, but I definitely could see Amanda being the one who's driving what's happening during the nighttime. I don't want to pick the same winner picks as you, so I'll take Karishma, that like knock out Allie and Amanda, Karishma, and then take one of Jordan or Mike to the end and beat them. Is what I would like. Karishma, so I'll take Karishma.
Both of them.
I think they all have good shots. I could see Jordan winning. I feel like Jordan has a little bit of a hard. It's like, you're good at Mafia. Like, we get it, you know.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you know, and so I feel like he could have a hard time.
How he enters a room. He's just like, "Hi, I'm Jordan. I'm good at Mafia."
He must have been so. He's like, "I'm in the Mafia." Like, Alex, really? So I'm interesting. And then I think
they brought that up. Like, at least it was a conversation of like, we know it must be annoying for you that that everyone knows you're good at all these games, but you are good at all these games.
Yeah, but when he got to the edge of extinction, he's like, "Hey, I'm the Mafia guy." So it wasn't just something that people like foist upon him.
He also got the rules very when he got there. So that's, you know,
there are again a lot of rules to this show, but you know, king of Mafia.
I could definitely see a Mike win. I think he's been like so out in front. I think he gets like clipped. I think he has too good of a resume to like get through those. But I think it also depends on who he is in that hierarchy. Like if he's like, if he's just like, well, I'm actually Alexis. Like you can take me, I can't win. You know, like it doesn't matter. Like, he can't win.
Been the Teflon Don so far, so we'll see how that continues. Didn't work out so well for the real Teflon Don in the real life, but you know,
spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler for decades old Mafia business.
Yeah. I think we were talking about the Mafia on the left.
You have no idea how much I love the Mafia. Like any opportunity. LT loves the Mafia. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Grace knows me really. Grace,
listening.
I think, actually knows all of my worst habits because we played D&D together, and Grace just like makes fun of how serious I am about everything.
This is a dangerous habit.
We could get into LT's D&D character, but it is brilliant. Is in one word, I will put it. But anyway, so that's fun.
And speaking of fun, let's do a fun thing as we approach the end of this podcast, which is kind of put people in different roles, because this is the interesting thing. Like, who is in what brigade roles? And then we also have Karen and Jess, who we kind of have no idea about at this point, or so we don't have them assigned at this point.
Jess hinted at being Dr. Joe, right? I think like on the edge of extinction. I also could see Karen, like Karen saved herself from a medevac. Ooh. So I could see Karen having been Dr. Joe, because I don't think Jess really like confirmed it 100%. So I don't know. I'd go either way on which one of them is Dr. Joe and which of the one of them I think is Laurel. There's nothing to me to say that either of them can break ties. I don't think any of them indicated anything. So.
You mean Jess could be Laurel?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We'll flip
only
it and
based
reverse
on what you all are talking about. Thanks, Missy.
There was like a hint that maybe there was the thing on Edge, and Jess was sort of talking through the Dr. Joe rules and kind of like hinted that maybe that's who she was. I mean, she could sneak through these like she could get a brigader out if she's Dr. Joe. That could be interesting, saving herself. So that could be fun. I mean, there's a pathway here for like someone with an idol to come back in. Like if they keep if they vote out who do they anyway.
Jess has been solid in this game, I think.
I agree.
Just totally. Like, completely a rock, heading over to the edge of extinction, learning way more information than people probably should have told her, or Allie for that matter.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know if it's because I love Jess as a person or if it's because of the red lip and the braid, but I'm Jess is on my like short list of winners in life and in this game.
Yeah, she's a winner. And you know what? Speaking of potential winners and my winner pick, Allie Lasher. Well, I don't know. Actually, I have no clue. I'm so lost with this, like the brigade here. So like the thing that I'm thinking about, I'm trying to think about who's on the top of all of this. And I don't think that Mike is Parvati. Amanda's really interesting to me because she has been a little bit more like, I don't know what the word is for it, but she hasn't been like as vocal as Allie. She hasn't been as kind of like, playful as Karishma. I'm just trying to sort through who might be in which role and like why someone who's Parvati might want to play a certain way versus someone who's like Alexis who wouldn't have a chance.
It's this like, it is the 40 chess of it all of like, if you are Parvati, do you play the like laid back, do you play Karishma because you don't want the attention on yourself, because if you get voted out, then you're the highest on the pecking, right? So everybody's coming after you. So you might not necessarily want to build a resume, right? Like you might not you are trying to keep your profile low because all you need to do is like the goal is to just like get to the end with the brigade, right? And then any of them who are there, you can beat any of them, right? It doesn't matter what you've done in the game, but you need to not be voted out before that point. So I think that's an interesting case for like someone like Karishma, but it also this 4D chess of it all could be that it's Mike Bloom, right? Of like, don't play into that, like don't play into the sit back role, like play play pretty vocally, like you know, so just to try and like, you know, reverse those expectations, you know, to reverse that idea that like, well, like Parvati wouldn't play that, you know, you're not going to play that like out there. The person who has the most reason to play bold from the brigade is Alexis, not Maxwell, because if you get if you play suspiciously and you get investigated, you get cleared, right? So it's actually a bit in your interest to play more vocally. That's where I could see somebody like Allie, who's commanding the board, and someone saying, wow, she's really like directing traffic here. Let me investigate.
Yeah.
Oh, she's clear. Okay, we can trust what she's saying, right? Like versus like, you know, Karishma. I mean, like, you know, there's a reason for all of them to be Alexis, but there is that like thing I could see of somebody who's playing a little bit more. So like to me, you have Allie and Mike. Mike is clearly, I think, the most out there. You have Allie. I think you have a man in the middle who's got a lot of suspicion. Then you have Jordan. Then you have Karishma in terms of like who has the most profile. So I don't know if you can like. I don't think you like slot them down exactly like that.
No. But I would say, like, we did talk about Mike, and I think, Grace, you put this out there that Mike might be in the Amanda role with the idol.
Yeah.
I mean, and then based on what you said, I liked how you broke that down. You give us a lot of options here, but I would almost be inclined to say that Karishma is Parvati based on that Alexis is Allie based on what you said, because how could we doubt you, Grace? And
doubt me.
Like Mike Bloom as Amanda was an interesting point. Or this is going to get confusing with Dr. Amanda versus Amanda.
The one other thing I've said is that like Mike hinted on his midnight ride that he has a role that has a power and he has to figure out how to use it. That could be an idol. To me, that feels like Suri. So I don't know.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just like not with it. I guess we've already established that for the last hour. But okay. So remember when Shannon was talking about how at the edge of extinction, someone said that they were a role, but they were lying because then what was it?
So Karishma said that she was a role.
Yeah. So what is happening there? Like what are people talking about?
I think that
Karishma's lying.
Yes, I think it's just Karishma trying to buy some credibility that she's a townie, and it's like, well, I'm that person. Like, you know, nobody called her out on it, really. Yeah. And now at this point, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. I thought it was just like a subtle move to be like, well, you know, and I'm not even going to tell you who it is. I'm not going to tell you who's lying. But I'm going to throw enough like doubt out there that like, well, maybe there is a Brigader on the edge of extinction.
Smooth. I can't even say so. Smooth the move, Karishma. We see you. We're watching you.
Yeah. Got you in our eye, Dirty Diana. Sorry, that was trending today, so I listened to it a lot.
Let's wrap that. Who do you think between if we say Mike is Amanda, who between Jordan and Amanda, who's Natalie, who's Suri? I do feel like I know Amanda has played the test game. Jordan to me feels like someone who might have tried to play the steal a vote earlier. So I feel like maybe Amanda is Suri and Jordan is Natalie is like just a total shot in the dark. But
and you know what? This whole game is just like our world, unexpected. There's so many different things that could happen. We don't know. LaTonya, any twists on this, or does this look like a decent breakdown of how things are?
I defer to the two of you, given that I don't know any of these other people from Survivor, except for I think Christian Hubicki and Parvati. But
here's what I'll say too. It's just like, I'm going to go with Grace's brain. Grace knows all. Grace is the game master, the task
wrong
master.
Last time. Karen from Canada can attest. I was very wrong.
Well, if you're wrong this time, then you just have to eat a snake. It's fine.
Yeah, and if you're wrong this time, I don't want to be right. You know, that's the way it is. What's the point?
I'd like to be right. But, you know, again, I will defer to Grace. So, Grace, to be clear, if you were wrong about this, you've let everyone down.
Yeah, I know. I know. This is what happens, though, when your last name is Leeder. It's a lot of pressure. You know?
Yeah. That's rough.
I bet you never got that in school. No one ever said follow the leader to you.
Never. No, my mom is a principal. Imagine your principal's name is Mrs. Leeder. You know? It's rough. Yeah.
Interesting. Names. Impressive. Powerful. Just like Grace, the leader. And speaking of power LaTonya, where I'm trying to
is that your
transition
plug
to our
segue?
outro.
Oh,
Yeah. They'll
nailed it.
never ever take my power. That's
But-
another song I couldn't stop listening to on YouTube instead of doing actual work for this podcast. But I did watch the episode, so I feel okay about it. Where can people find me? Is that what you were
Well,
gonna say?
let me give a peek behind the curtain. Tonight is Survivor, and we want to watch Survivor. We need to take it in. We need to get our popcorn popped. LaTonya, where can people find you?
People can find me at LK Starks, and I am not technically sure I'm supposed to be talking about any of this stuff yet, so you're going to hear it here first, people.
Ooh.
Okay, so I will be joining Grace, the leader, on a podcast of TB determined. Yeah,
A podcast?
A podcast, you say?
What?
Plugging a podcast on a podcast. We'll be talking about a scary movie because it's it's almost October. For me, it's always already October. I watch a horror movie a day. But not everyone's insane. So for the people who are and the people who aren't, Grace and I are going to be talking about that over at post-show recaps.
It'll be on the monthly movie review podcast.
Monthly movie
Check it
review.
Out. Post-show recaps theater.
We love it.
And then there's a possibility that one Josh Wiggler and I, one fellow brochacho and I are going to be doing a podcast together about, drum roll please, don't worry about it, the Dexter reboot.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Isn't that going to be the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard? Josh and I are going to try to not say the exact same things about stuff all the time, and we'll see how it goes. And then this is super, super secret. But it has been greenlit. Mari Forth and Chappelle and I are going to be covering the last season of Insecure for post-show recaps, people.
Whoa.
Grace, do you have a bell? Ring the bell.
Ding.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, and I'll also be watching Survivor. We'll see how that goes. But I'm sure I'll be tweeting about it at LK Starks. People have started to find me on Instagram, which is hilarious.
Oh.
Because I never say exactly what my Instagram handle is. But congratulations to you all. I'll give you a hint. It includes my birthday and is about Daenerys Targaryen. Exactly.
Well,
we work on that. Work on the hints, everybody. Work through that. Grace, where can the people wait? Was that all of your plugs, LaTonya?
I think that's all my plugs. I think that's quite a few plugs.
Yeah,
there are a few.
Yeah.
Only a
good
few
plugs.
Grace, I heard that this is the busiest week of your podcasting life. Can you tell us about that?
It is. Follow me on Twitter at Hi From Grace. Hold Up is a podcast I do. We watch LGBTQ media from the past and see if it holds up. We will be talking about the premiere of Survivor, the very first episode, because I got Rich and Rudy and Sonia. So that's going to come out soon. On post show recaps, doing a lot over there. So as LaTonya mentioned, the monthly movie review podcast with Ariel Gomez, and we bring on guests. There's we watched Free Guy, Candyman, and Coda last month, so we talked about those. LT, we should talk about Candyman at some point.
I finally saw it.
I know.
We will include it in our conversation about the scary movie I've chosen.
Okay. I'm doing a James Bond sort of rewatch. We're watching a few movies before the new one comes out. We're going to cover the new ones. This is me and Jessica Leese, and then we're going to go back, I think, to the beginning and watch it. That's on the Patreon feed. Also on Post Recaps Theater, Succession Season 3 is coming. Jess Sterling, Josh Wiggler, and I are going to cover it weekly. Amazing show, really incredible. And on Fridays, I have a new project I'm doing with Haley Strong. We're going to get on Twitch, and we're going to talk about the latest episode of Taskmaster every Friday on Haley Strong's Twitch, which I should write down because I don't know what it is at the moment. Follow my Twitter. We're going to talk about it for under an hour probably. We'll just chat about the new episode. So that's happening. And then on Tuesdays, twitch.tv/DM Philly, I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons in Space, and there is another show coming on Fridays on twitch.tv/DM Philly that you might see my face on as well. Ooh. So there's a lot happening.
Yeah.
But just follow me on Twitter at @ifromgrace. I'll plug it
Yeah.
all.
Follow me on Twitter at LK Starks because I forgot 2 plugs. So I'll talk about that when it's time.
You know what? You booked and busy, and yet you still have time to come here and talk about Black Widow Brigade with me. I could have just been here alone talking about it and reacting and freaking out.
But I saw
and
the
being
name and I thought this show was about Black people, and I was like, yeah.
So you showed up. And speaking of Black people, you could follow me on Twitter at MattScottGW. You could also follow me on Instagram. I'm not going to really be posting on Instagram, people. Just follow me on Twitter.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, oh, I have a person following me that probably listened to this. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Every time you follow Matt, that's what he says in his brain. Ooh.
Yeah, and then I see that I get unfollowed. It was just an accident. So.
Yeah, I get unfollowed all the time. Twitter, we need to talk
every day, all day, every day. Yeah, and I will also say, if you don't want to hear me or see me on the Twitter, the Instagram, the whatever, you could also find me on the Wrestling Wrap Up with the one, the only, the aforementioned Mari Forth, who's the boss of our podcast, and she's a boss at podcasting. So check it out. Why not talk about pro wrestling? You don't even need to know anything about pro wrestling. Grace has been on. LaTonya's been on.
No big deal.
I am on. They might also be on again in the future. You never know.
Be on in the future.
We have. I mean, I really hope so. Let's pull up the calendar. Let's just book the show now. Okay. Actually, though, so Black Widow Brigade podcasting about that, and you could also probably find me sometime soon somewhere podcasting about Survivor 41 on Rob Has a Podcast. And that's me slowing down because I'm losing steam, because that means it's the end of our episode. But any wise words to wrap us up? Like Julie Chen would offer some wise words. LaTonya, do you have anything?
I would just say keep being a child of God.
Grace.
I'll say, girl, you're not in trouble because you listen to this podcast. This is the whole thing. So
yeah. And to everybody who reached out, including the creator of this game, whose name I totally remember.
Alex Gardner.
It's obviously Alex Gardner. Matt, why don't you remember his name? It's really
I forget
a problem. But anyway,
LT, your Matt impression is coming on really good. The way you
why are you impersonating me on the podcast?
You were pretending to be Matt saying the name of the show.
Someone on this podcast is impersonating my role, and that's all I'm gonna say. Just that's it.
It seems like you're lying about that, but
legit.
Yeah, no, he reached out to talk about how great we were. We got a lot of good feedback on Twitter from people involved in the game. I think this is a love letter to the game, if ridiculous. But and to the players of it. So we're happy that we get a chance to come and talk to you all about this game that we're all fervently watching. Cannot wait for the next installment, and thank you for listening to us.
And Act 3 coming up soon will be episodes 8, 9, and 10. So see you then. But thanks for listening, and this is Silent Podcasts.